Lieutenant Commander Jack Harlow stood at the viewport of the shuttle, watching as the blue-green jewel of Centauri Prime grew larger. His dark uniform felt unusually tight around his neck today. The message he had received 12 hours ago was still playing in his mind. No explanation, just orders to report to Earth's embassy immediately. "First time to the embassy?" asked the pilot. "No," Jack replied, "but it's been a while." The shuttle banked smoothly toward the gleaming silver tower that housed Earth's diplomatic mission. Unlike the organic curves of the alien structures surrounding it, the embassy was all straight lines and sharp angles, a small piece of human design amid the alien landscape. Jack gathered his small bag as the shuttle landed. A young woman in diplomatic dress greeted him at the dock. "Commander Harlow, welcome. I'm Nancy from the ambassador's office. Please follow me." They walked through wide hallways, filled with artwork from both human and alien worlds. Jack noticed more security personnel than usual, their faces tense and alert. Nancy led him to a conference room where 3 people waited. He recognized Ambassador Linda Wright, a tall woman with gray hair and a serious face. Next to her sat Admiral Susan Miller, the head of Earth's military delegation to Centauri Prime. The third person, a thin man with glasses, was unknown to him. "Commander," Admiral Miller said, "thank you for coming quickly." Jack saluted. "Of course, Admiral." Ambassador Wright gestured to a chair. "Please sit down, Commander. We have much to discuss and little time." Jack took his seat, noticing the worried looks they exchanged. "I'll get right to it," said Ambassador Wright. "Humanity has been summoned to appear before the full Galactic Council." Jack felt his heart skip. The Galactic Council rarely dealt with humans directly. Most matters were handled through lower diplomatic channels. "The full council?" he asked. "All 27 species?" "Yes," Admiral Miller confirmed. "This hasn't happened in 73 years, not since the Treaty of Seoul was signed." The man with glasses spoke up. "The summons came with no explanation, but our sources indicated some kind of ultimatum." Ambassador Wright introduced him. "This is Dr. Alan Ross, our chief science advisor." Jack nodded to them. "What kind of ultimatum are we talking about?" "That's what we need to find out," said Admiral Miller. "The Council has always viewed us with suspicion. They think we're unpredictable, dangerous." Jack couldn't help but smile slightly. "Can't imagine why." "This isn't a joke, Commander," Ambassador Wright said sharply. "In the past decade, Earth has made technological leaps that make some Council members nervous. Our fleet has tripled in size. For exploration and defense," Jack pointed out. "We know that," Admiral Miller said. "But the Council sees a rapidly growing military power on their borders, and now something has them spooked enough to call a full session." Dr. Ross pushed his glasses up. "There are rumors. Some say the Drenthar Collective has evidence of human aggression in the Epsilon Belt." Jack frowned. "That's nonsense. We've been careful to follow every regulation in the disputed zones." "We know," said Ambassador Wright, "but perception matters more than truth in the Council chambers." Admiral Miller stood up and paced the room. "We're assembling a delegation, the 4 of us, plus diplomatic officer Olivia Garcia. We leave for the Galactic Hub Station in 6 hours." Jack was surprised. "Me? I'm not a diplomat." "No, you're not," agreed the Admiral. "But you've had more first-hand contact with non-human species than most of our officers. And if this turns bad, I want someone with tactical experience at my side." Ambassador Wright's face was grim. "The President believes we should prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." "The worst being?" Jack asked. Dr. Ross answered quietly. "War." The word hung in the air like a physical thing. Jack looked out the window at the alien city beyond. Humans had fought each other for most of their history, but they had maintained peace with alien species since first contact. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that," Jack said. Admiral Miller nodded. "Indeed. Get some rest, Commander. We have a long journey ahead, and I suspect an even longer battle once we arrive." The Earth delegation stepped from their shuttle onto the smooth metal floor of Galactic Hub Station. Jack looked up in awe at the council spire that rose above them, a twisting tower of glass and light that housed the meeting chambers of the 27 most powerful species in known space. "Impressive, isn't it?" said Olivia Garcia, the diplomatic officer who had joined them for the journey. She was young for her position, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Designed to be," said Admiral Miller, her face unreadable. "The council wants visitors to feel small." A group of blue-skinned aliens approached. They had long necks and 4 arms each, dressed in flowing robes marked with the council's symbol. "Representatives of Earth," one said in perfect English. "The council awaits." They were led through vast hallways filled with delegates from across the galaxy. Jack noticed how conversations stopped as they passed. Some aliens looked curious, others fearful, a few openly hostile. "We're not very popular," Jack whispered to Dr. Ross. "Humans make them nervous," Ross replied quietly. "We evolved too quickly, expanded too fast." The council chamber was a massive circular room. Tiers of seats rose on all sides, filled with representatives from 27 species. At the center stood a raised platform where the Earth delegation was directed to stand. Above them, in the highest tier, sat Grand Arbiter Zexvol of the Morden Empire, his scaled skin shimmering under the lights. As the oldest spacefaring species, the Morden always held the position of arbiter. "Representatives of Earth," Zexvol's voice boomed through the chamber. "You have been summoned to hear the unanimous decision of this council." Ambassador Wright stepped forward. "The people of Earth are honored by the council's attention. May we ask the nature of this decision?" Zexvol's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "It is not a decision to be questioned, but one to be obeyed." Jack tensed, feeling the atmosphere in the room shift. Admiral Miller placed a warning hand on his arm. "For too long," Zexvol continued, "we have watched humanity's unchecked military growth. Your rapid expansion threatens the balance we have maintained for 10,000 years." Holographic images appeared around the chamber, showing Earth's fleet. "The Council hereby demands the following. Earth will dismantle 80% of its fleet. All faster-than-light weapon technology will be surrendered to Council control, and Council observers will be placed at all Earth military installations." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Ambassador Wright's face remained calm, but Jack could see her knuckles turn white as she gripped the podium. "Grand Arbiter," she said evenly, "Earth has always abided by the Treaty of Sol. We have never attacked another species. Our fleet exists only for defense and exploration." "Evidence suggests otherwise," said a new voice. A small, gray-skinned alien with large black eyes stood from the Drenthar section. "Administrator Clovel," Zexval acknowledged. "Present your evidence." The chamber darkened. New holograms appeared, showing what looked like human ships firing on smaller vessels. "These are recordings from the Epsilon Belt," said Clovel. "Human warships attacking peaceful Xilian mining vessels. 300 lives lost." Jack stared at the images in disbelief. The ships had Earth fleet markings, but something was wrong. He leaned toward Admiral Miller. "Those insignias," he whispered. "They're outdated. We haven't used that pattern in 15 years. Miller nodded slightly and watched the movement patterns. "No human ship can make those turns at that speed. We'd tear apart." Ambassador Wright spoke again. "Grand Arbiter, we request time to examine this evidence. These claims are serious and unexpected." "You have 24 hours to prepare your response," Zexval said. "This council expects Earth's full compliance with our demands. The alternative will be sanctions, isolation, and if necessary, military enforcement." As they were escorted from the chamber, Jack noticed Dr. Ross studying a small device in his palm. "What is it?" Jack asked. Ross looked up, his face grave. "I managed to get readings from those holograms. There's something very strange about them." Admiral Miller's expression was hard as stone. "We have 24 hours to prove we're being set up, or Earth goes to war with the entire Galactic Council." Olivia touched her communication device. I'll begin reaching out to our allies. Someone must know what's really happening here. Jack looked back at the council chamber doors closing behind them. If we have any allies left. Back on their diplomatic vessel, the Earth team gathered around the main table. Ambassador Wright had ordered a complete communications blackout. No one could know what they discussed. Play it again, Jack said, leaning forward as the holographic evidence from the council appeared above the table. Dr. Ross adjusted his device, slowing the footage. Look at the energy signatures of those weapons. The light spectrum is wrong for our pulse cannons. Admiral Miller nodded. And the hull markings are wrong. The registration numbers don't match any ships in our fleet. Someone went to a lot of trouble to make these look like our ships, Olivia said, studying the images closely. But they made mistakes. Dr. Ross tapped rapidly on his tablet. His face grew more concerned with each passing minute. I've analyzed the quantum signature of the recording itself. It shows signs of Drenthar technology. The Drenthar? Jack asked. The same ones who presented the evidence. Yes, Dr. Ross replied. Their holographic technology is different from ours. It leaves traces in the data structure, like a fingerprint. Admiral Miller paced the room. This is about the Epsilon Dult mining rights. We won that dispute 3 months ago. The Drenthar lost access to the helium deposits. So they fake an attack to turn the council against us, Jack said, anger rising in his voice. But why would the council believe this without checking? Some of these species have been spacefaring for thousands of years. Olivia looked up from her communications pad. I've been reaching out to some friendly contacts. The Arcturians say several council members received unusual visits from Drenthar representatives in the past week. Bribes? Asked Ambassador Wright. Or threats, Olivia replied. The Drenthar collective has grown powerful. They control key trade routes in 3 sectors. Admiral Miller stopped pacing. We need to talk to Earth. If the council is corrupt, we may be walking into a trap. Ambassador Wright nodded and pressed her hand against a hidden panel in the wall. A secret communication system activated, creating a secure channel that even the most advanced alien technology couldn't detect. President Frank Morgan's face appeared on the screen. His expression was grim. Ambassador, your emergency signal was received. What's happening? For the next 10 minutes, they explained everything. The ultimatum, the false evidence, their suspicions about the Drenthar. The president listened silently, his hands folded in front of him. When they finished, he sighed deeply. We suspected something like this might happen. Our intelligence picked up unusual Drenthar fleet movements near the Epsilon Dult 3 weeks ago. Jack looked surprised. You knew. We had suspicions, the president corrected. Not proof, and we needed to see which council members would stand with us and which would turn against us. Now we know, said Admiral Miller grimly. None of them stood with us. So what do we do? Asked Ambassador Wright. If we reject their ultimatum, we risk war with the entire council. Our fleet is strong, but not that strong. A small smile appeared on the president's face. Are you certain about that, Ambassador? The 5 people in the room exchanged confused glances. What do you mean, Mr. President? Asked Ambassador Wright. You are authorized to reject their ultimatum completely, said President Morgan, and to reveal the Drenthar deception. Push for an emergency session as soon as possible. Jack shook his head. Sir, with respect, if we do that, we'll need to back it up with force. The Council might order immediate military action against Earth. Don't worry about that part, Commander Harlow, the President said. Just make sure you're all in the Council chamber when you make your case. You have a plan, Admiral Miller said. It wasn't a question. Let's just say Earth has a few surprises that even our own diplomats don't know about, the President replied. It's time the Council learned that threatening humanity is a very poor decision. As the communication ended, Jack looked at the others. What do you think he means? Admiral Miller's expression was unreadable. I guess we'll find out tomorrow. Let's prepare our evidence. We have a conspiracy to expose. The council chamber was packed when the Earth delegation returned. News about the ultimatum had spread fast. All 27 species watched closely as Ambassador Wright walked to the speaking platform. Grand Arbiter Zexval looked down from his high seat. Representatives of Earth, have you come to accept the Council's demands? Ambassador Wright stood straight, her voice firm. We have not, Grand Arbiter. Instead, we ask for an emergency session to show evidence of a serious trick played against this council. Whispers filled the chamber. Zexval's 4 eyes blinked quickly, showing his surprise. This is very unusual, he said. So is making fake evidence to start a war, replied Ambassador Wright. Her words made the whispers grow louder. After talking briefly with other council leaders, Zexval nodded. Show your evidence. Dr. Ross stepped forward and turned on a display. The video shown yesterday, supposedly of human ships attacking Xilian ships, is fake. He pointed out details. These ship markings haven't been used by Earth ships in 15 years. The engine patterns are wrong, and the flight movements are impossible for our ships. He pressed a button, and new information appeared. Most important, the special signature of the recording shows Drenthar manipulation. This evidence was created by them. The chamber filled with shouts and arguments. Some representatives demanded to see the analysis. Others called for the Drenthar to explain. Administrator Cloval stood up, his gray face dark with anger. These are empty claims. The humans are just trying to avoid the results of their actions. Olivia stepped forward next. We have messages from the Arcturian and Regelian representatives confirming they were visited by Drenthar officials who offered them valuable trade deals to support action against Earth. More noise broke out in the chamber. Ambassador Wright waited for it to quiet before continuing. The Drenthar lost valuable mining rights to the Epsilon Belt in a fair council ruling 3 months ago. This is their attempt at revenge, using the council to harm Earth's position. Cloval shouted, lies. He turned to leave the chamber. Security, stop the Drenthar representative, Zexval ordered. Guards moved to block the exits. The Grand Arbiter's voice cut through the noise. Order. I demand order in this chamber, but the arguments continued, with different species taking sides. Jack watched as accusations flew between council members. Some admitted to meetings with Drenthar officials. Others denied any knowledge. The united front against Earth was breaking apart. Admiral Miller leaned close to Jack. This is going better than expected. The council is splitting. Jack nodded, but noticed Zexval struggling to regain control. The Grand Arbiter looked embarrassed, possibly realizing he had been used. Jack knew from his studies that the Morden valued pride and saving face highly. Without warning, Jack stepped onto the platform. Ambassador Wright gave him a warning look, but he went forward. Members of the Galactic Council, Jack said, his voice cutting through the chaos. Something in his tone made the chamber grow quiet. My name is Lieutenant Commander Jack Harlow of Earth. I am not a diplomat. I am a soldier. He looked around the vast chamber, making eye contact with representatives from many species. I come from a world that spent most of its history at war with itself. We humans fought each other over land, resources, beliefs, even small differences in how we look. We nearly destroyed ourselves many times. The chamber was completely silent now. Even Zexval watched with interest. When we finally reached the stars, we hoped to find wisdom, unity, and peace. Instead, we find the same politics, the same greed, the same manipulation that nearly ended our own civilization. Jack paused, letting his words sink in. You fear us because we build warships, because we arm ourselves. You see it as aggression. We see it as the painful lesson of our history. The prepared survive. The unprepared suffer. He looked directly at Zexval. You were tricked by the Drenthar, but you were willing to be tricked because it matched what you already believed about humans, that we are dangerous. Jack's voice grew stronger. And on that point, you are correct. The council chamber remained silent as Jack continued his speech. Ambassador Wright had moved to stop him, but Admiral Miller held her back with a slight shake of her head. "Yes, humans are dangerous," Jack said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Our history is written in blood. We fought countless wars among ourselves. We developed weapons that could destroy entire planets before we even left our solar system." Jack paced slowly across the platform, making eye contact with different council members. "But we learned from our mistakes. We united our world, not because we suddenly became peaceful, but because we understood the cost of conflict. We remember what happens when we aren't prepared." He pointed to the holographic display where the fake evidence had been shown. "The Drenthar thought they could trick you into fighting their battle. They wanted you to force us to disarm, to weaken ourselves, and many of you were eager to agree." Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Jack noticed the representatives from the Arcturian Federation nodding slightly. "We don't build warships because we want war," Jack continued. "We build them because we remember what happens without them. We build them to ensure that the peace lasts." Jack turned to look at Admiral Miller, who gave him a subtle nod. "What none of you know is that Earth was aware of this plot weeks ago. We knew the Drenthar were planning something. We could have stopped them, but we wanted to see which of our supposed allies would stand with us, and which would turn against us at the first opportunity." Gasps and whispers spread through the chamber. Grand Arbiter Zexable leaned forward, his scaled face tense. "What do you mean, human?" Zexval asked. Jack smiled slightly. "Admiral Miller, would you care to demonstrate?" Admiral Miller stepped forward and pressed a button on her wrist device. A large holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing a map of known space. Tiny dots of light represented the homeworlds of all council species. "This is a real-time strategic display," Admiral Miller explained. "The blue markers represent Earth Defense Fleet positions as of 1 hour ago." At first, the council members looked confused. There were no blue markers visible. Then, one by one, blue dots began to appear near each of the homeworlds displayed. "Impossible," breathed a representative from the Tsilian conclave. "Our detection systems would have identified your ships." "Would they?" Admiral Miller asked calmly. "These vessels have been in position for the past 5 days, using technology we've never shared with the Council. Each battle group carries enough firepower to neutralize planetary defenses within minutes." The chamber erupted into shouts and cries of alarm. Some representatives were calling for immediate action. Others were demanding explanations from their military advisors. Grand Arbiter Zexable slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor 3 times, calling for order. "This is an outrage," he shouted. "You threaten the Council with military force." Jack shook his head. "No, Grand Arbiter. If we wanted to threaten you, we would have revealed this after you refused to hear our evidence. Instead, we're showing you now after proving the Drenthar deception." "Then what is the purpose of this demonstration?" asked Zexval, his voice calmer but still tense. "To help you understand," Jack said. "You thought you knew everything about human capabilities. You thought you could dictate terms to us. We're showing you that your intelligence about Earth is flawed." Dr. Ross stepped forward, adjusting his glasses. "The ships you see represent only a fraction of Earth's defense capability. We've developed technologies far beyond what we've shared with the Council." Ambassador Wright finally spoke. "The Council demanded that Earth dismantle 80% of its fleet. Now you see why we find that request not just insulting, but amusing." Jack watched as the reality sank in. The Earth they thought they knew, a minor power to be bullied and controlled, had never existed. The real Earth had been watching from the shadows, prepared for exactly this moment. Stunned silence filled the council chamber as the representatives stared at the holographic display, showing Earth ships positioned near their homeworlds. Jack could see fear in many alien eyes, but also a new kind of respect. "Let me be clear," Jack said, breaking the silence. "Earth has no interest in conquest. We never have. If we wanted your worlds, we could have taken them long ago. Admiral Miller stepped forward again. What Commander Harlow says is true. Our goal has always been peaceful coexistence, but peace through weakness is just surrender waiting to happen. A tall, blue-skinned representative from the Andorian Republic stood up. If what you say is true, why reveal your capabilities now? You have sacrificed your tactical advantage. Jack smiled slightly. Have we? Dr. Ross, would you mind giving them a demonstration? Dr. Ross nodded and tapped a command into his device. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored representatives of all species, if you would please direct your attention to the viewports. The massive windows of the council chamber looked out into the blackness of space surrounding the Galactic Hub station. At first, nothing seemed to change. Then, like ripples on water, the fabric of space itself seemed to distort. One by one, massive human vessels appeared out of nowhere, materializing all around the station. Their sleek, dark hulls reflected the starlight as they moved into formation. The ships were enormous, far larger than any the council had seen before. Gasps and cries of alarm filled the chamber. Some representatives jumped to their feet. Others sat frozen in shock. By the ancient stars, whispered Grand Arbiter Zexval. How many ships do you have? These? Admiral Miller said casually. This is approximately 15% of Earth's actual fleet. The rest remain protecting human space. She zoomed out the holographic display to show hundreds more blue dots appearing across known space. What you're seeing is a real-time decloak of our second fleet. Until this moment, your most advanced sensors couldn't detect them. They've been patrolling these sectors for years. The chamber erupted in chaos again. Zexval struggled to maintain order. Jack raised his hands, calling for quiet. We don't show you this to threaten. We show you this so you understand. Earth will not be bullied. We will not disarm. We will not surrender our sovereignty to the Council. A shimmering hologram appeared beside Jack. The image resolved into President Frank Morgan, leader of the United Earth Government. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, the President said, I apologize for this unexpected demonstration, but recent events have made it necessary. He looked directly at Grand Arbiter Zexval. For generations, the Council has viewed humanity as a dangerous child to be contained and controlled. Today, we show you that we are neither children nor easily controlled. President Morgan's expression softened slightly. But we did not develop these technologies for war. We developed them because we understand that true peace comes from strength. We have never attacked another species. We have honored every treaty. We have traded fairly and openly. He paused, looking around the chamber. The choice before you is simple. Continue peaceful cooperation with Earth as equals, or face the consequences of attempting to threaten a species that has spent its entire history preparing for threats. Olivia Garcia moved to stand beside Jack. What happens now? She whispered. Jack watched the council members talking urgently among themselves. Now we wait. They need time to process what they've seen. Grand Arbiter Zexval struck his staff against the floor. The Council requires time to deliberate on this new information. We will recess for 3 standard days. As the Earth delegation prepared to leave the chamber, Jack noticed many representatives staring at them with new expressions. Some showed fear, others anger, but many displayed something Earth had never received from the Council before. Respect. Do you think they'll retaliate? Olivia asked Admiral Miller as they walked toward the exit. The Admiral shook her head. They're too smart for that. They've just learned that everything they thought they knew about Earth was wrong. Now they have to recalculate. Back on their diplomatic vessel, the Earth delegation gathered in the main conference room. The mood was mixed. They had avoided immediate conflict, but the future remained uncertain. That was quite the show, Ambassador Wright said, looking at Admiral Miller. I wish I had been informed about our hidden fleet beforehand. Admiral Miller shrugged. Operational security. Even I didn't know about all of it until a week ago. Jack poured himself a cup of coffee, one of the few Earth beverages that had become popular across the galaxy. Do you think it was wise to show our hand like that? The President thought so, said Admiral Miller. And it certainly made an impression. Olivia was reviewing messages on her pad. It certainly did. I've received 16 requests for private meetings from different council species in the last hour. Dr. Ross adjusted his glasses nervously. I'm worried we may have only confirmed their fears about humans. We showed them we've been hiding our true capabilities for years. Jack sat down, turning his cup slowly in his hands. Sometimes fear is useful. They feared us when they thought we were weak. That made them think they could push us around. Now they fear us because they know we're strong. But fear leads to hate, Olivia said, and hate leads to conflict. Not always, Jack replied. Fear can also lead to respect, to caution. The Council has maintained peace for thousands of years because everyone was too afraid to challenge them. Now they need to include us in that calculation. Ambassador Wright sighed. I spent my career building bridges between species. Today we just told the galaxy we've been lying to them for generations. Not lying, Admiral Miller corrected. Just not revealing everything. Every species keeps secrets. A light flashed on Dr. Ross's pad. He read the message with raised eyebrows. Interesting. I just heard from my Arcturian colleague, Dr. Exceltor. He says several council species are now debating whether to propose technology exchange programs with Earth. Exchange programs? Olivia asked. Yesterday they wanted us to disarm. Amazing how quickly positions change when the balance of power shifts. Admiral Miller said with a small smile. Ambassador Wright walked to the viewport, looking out at the massive galactic hub station. The human vessels remained visible, their presence impossible to ignore. The next 3 days will reshape humanity's place in the galaxy, she said quietly. For better or worse. Jack joined her at the window. You don't seem happy about our victory. Is it a victory? She asked. We've avoided a war, yes. But we've also shown every species in the Council that we've been developing military technology in secret. They'll wonder what else we're hiding. They were already wondering that, Jack pointed out. Now they'll just wonder from a more respectful distance. A message chimed, and Admiral Miller checked her device. The Regelian ambassador is requesting a private dinner. They were one of our strongest advocates during the mining rights dispute. Accept, said Ambassador Wright. But be careful what you say. Everyone will be testing us now, looking for weaknesses or opportunities. Olivia's pad beeped repeatedly as more messages arrived. The Signan Federation, the Mizar Alliance, and even the Protean Confederation want meetings. These are species that have traditionally been hostile to human expansion. Dr. Ross looked up from his own messages. My scientific contacts report unusual activity in Drenthar space. Their ships appear to be returning to their homeworld. Retreating while they can, Admiral Miller said. Smart move. Jack watched the stars beyond the window, thinking of Earth, so far away yet suddenly so central to galactic politics. What happens next? He asked. Ambassador Wright's expression was determined. We negotiate, but from a position of strength this time. And if negotiations fail, Jack pressed. Admiral Miller's voice was calm but firm. Then we show them that what they've seen so far is just the beginning of what humanity can do.